Hello, South Bend community, and welcome to this Wednesday afternoon. Coming to you live with Mr. Brad, and he is going to be presenting on Google Sheets this afternoon. So strap in and get ready for the ride.
All right. Thank you so much, Chase. We're going to first get started with this. When I think of Wednesday, it's Google Sheets. Some people are really anxious, and we can always take a deep breath. And we'll let it out. Follow that little yellow guy on the screen there. And I'm going to get started with this. And I don't know if my screen is presenting or not. I'm just going to double check here. It looks like we're good. All right. Chad, can you see my, or Chad, Chase, can you see my screen? All right. Slideshow. I am not sure everybody can see. I think you can see me, but not presenting my screen.
Yep, your screen's showing up now.
Okay. Okay, it is showing up now. Okay.
Yep,
so,
yep,
sorry about that. So, what was supposed to show up on the screen was this yellow guy on the screen, and just and I don't think that's showing, so we're not going to worry about that. Okay, so we're going to start out with Google Sheets. A lot of people get really stressed out about using Google Sheets, and so we're just going to take it slow. There, I can see my monitor over here off to the left. So, so we're going to start slow, and some of you might have been to my previous workshops with Google Sheets. So we're going to cover some of the same things and hit a few different ones as well. And in the chat, I think Chase will put a link to my presentation. If not, we'll get it to you by the end of this. I think the most important things about Google Sheets is not knowing all the formulas and this and that, but understanding, or at least having an idea of that it can do something, and I can find it if I want to find that. I keep relearning some of the stuff I learned a long time ago. I don't try to memorize it. I just know, I know Google Sheets will do it, or or Excel will do that, and I just keep coming back and finding that feature. So don't get stressed out if you don't know everything or can't remember that. Just know the things that you need to know, and know that what it can do, I think, is the most important thing. So first up, we're going to start out with just a blank sheet. So this blank sheet, you start out and you're making your own data or something that you want to put the information together on. And this can be overwhelming for a lot of people, like this blank, what do I do with all this stuff? So I'm going to try to make it as simple as possible, kind of make it a little bit more friendly to look at. So let's say that this is our spreadsheet that we have. And what we're going to do first, let's say we want to do a schedule Monday through Friday. So I'm just going to click on one of the squares, B1, and I'm going to put in Monday. All right, so I've got Monday in this square B1. And then I'm going to, if you click on that square that I just typed in, you'll notice in the bottom right-hand corner, there is a small blue square. And this is going to be one of your best friends. This is the autofill tool. And what it does is if you hover over it with your mouse, it becomes, you'll see an X or a plus sign that shows up there. I'm going to click it, hold it, and drag it across. And I'm going to go 5 squares. And it knows that, that's it. Monday is a day of the week. And it says, if you're dragging to the right, then you want to put Tuesday there, and then Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. And we can keep going and going and going. So I don't have to type in all those days of the week. And then let's do the same thing with autofill. Let's go to A2 on the left-hand side. And let's say I want to put my students in there, or a numbering system or something. So I'm going to put student number 1 and Student number one is right there. And the next one is going to be student number two, number three, number four. And it knows, again, I'm using this autofill feature so that that square or cell is highlighted. And there's a blue box in the bottom right-hand corner. And I'm going to click on it when it turns to the plus sign and drag it down. And it knows, oh, you want students 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so forth. So I'm starting to put this chart together. And so it makes it pretty easy. I don't have to type all those things in. One of the things I like to do when I'm looking at this is, well, there's lots of extra cells that I don't even need. And sometimes it's just like I end up going too far to the right, too far to the bottom. So I'm going to get rid of some cells, and some columns and some rows. So I'm going to click over here on the column next to Friday. I'm just going to click, it's column G. I'm just going to click on the G, and you can see it highlights all the cells in that whole column. And I'm going to click on it and hold it down and drag across to the right. So I'm clicking with my mouse down on G, and then I'm dragging it. I'm not letting up on the trackpad. And I've selected all of these cells, all those columns to here, and I just want to get rid of them. I don't want them. There's extra, and it's just not useful to me. So if I go over to the top, the headers where the letters are here, and I right click with my mouse, or you can use 2-finger touch on the touchpad, you can see one of the options on the menu would be delete the columns. And that's what I want to do. So now all these columns to the right of Friday are not there. I can get them back if I want them. I can add more columns, but I'm not using those. I don't need them. Makes it a little bit, weeks for me, a little bit more friendly. The same thing with these rows. If I wanted to get rid of them all the extra ones, I just clicked on the numbers, the row where I want to start, and you can drag down. Each spreadsheet starts with 1,000 rows. So if you do it this way, it takes a while. But if you really are determined to get rid of those, you highlight them, right click on the rows, and it says, oh, delete all the ones you selected. So there's more rows to delete, but you get the idea. You can play around with that a little bit. So we can kind of bring down and only keep the cells that we want. So it's starting to get a little bit better. I see the names of these students are starting to, they're kind of close. I need a little bit more space in here. So I'm going to do this. One thing you need to know is the select all button. So if I want to change the font size, if I want to change the color of everything in the whole spreadsheet, then I want to select everything. So one quick way to do it is just hit this little, it doesn't even look like a button, but it is. It's the select all button right here between the A and the 1. I'm going to click it. Every cell in the whole spreadsheet is now selected or highlighted. And the cool thing about this is, obviously, as I talked about before, you could change the font size, you can change the font style, you can, change the background color and so forth. But one of the things I like is that you can change the size of all the columns all at once and all the rows all at once, which is kind of cool. So, you know what? I'm going to, everything's highlighted. So I'm going to column A at the top. And you'll notice when the cursor moves to the edge of the column, it goes from a pointer to an arrow that's pointing to the right. So it's pointing up. And then when you're in between a column, it points to the right. And that means you're in between the two columns and you can resize them. So here's what I'm going to do. And I'll do this a couple times I'll try to do the things I'm doing twice, because a lot of people think, oh, I saw that, but now I don't know what he did to do it. So I didn't do that in the beginning, but I'm going to try to repeat each thing I do so that we can catch it. So again, everything's highlighted. I'm going to go between the two columns and the little right arrow shows up. I'm going to click it and drag it. Now, because everything is highlighted, it's saying, oh, you want column A to be that width? I'm going to make every column that width. So you can see it makes everything together the same size, which is really nice. And you can do the same thing with the rows. When you have everything highlighted and you're like, I just want my rows to be a little bit taller, you can get that arrow right in between the two rows, click it, drag it down, and whatever size you make that row, all the other rows will do the exact same thing. So let's just repeat that real quick. Okay, so everything's highlighted. I push the button. I'm going to pick, it doesn't matter what row or column you pick, I'm going to pick this one. And I'm going to show you one more trick. Instead of clicking and dragging, which we just did, if you just double click, it will resize everything to the largest thing in that column. So that's kind of cool too. So, but let's say right now, I just want them all unified. I just grab and drag, and whatever I make that one column, everything else becomes the same width as that. And we'll do the same thing with the row again. Everything's highlighted. If you click and drag, whatever you make that row, all the other ones will follow suit. So that's pretty nice feature. So we've got select all. We can delete columns, delete rows. We can resize the rows, and we can resize everything all at once, all the columns and all the rows at one time. So that's great. Now, I'm going to peek over here with some other things I want to do. Let's do some more autofill. So we're going to look at, actually, we're going to skip that part because we kind of hit that a little bit. Okay, let's do checkboxes. So let's say, we've got this great chart, something that's the students doing on Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday. Let's say this chart is just, I want to know if the kid did the work on that day, and I just want to keep track of it in this spreadsheet. Okay, well, instead of typing did work in each box, Sheets has a nice feature that they just came out fairly recently within the last year, where you can put a checkbox in. So on Monday, student 1, I'm going to go to insert, go down to checkbox, and I've got this nice little checkbox. So if student 1 on Monday completed their work, I can just click it and it shows that they're done. So that's pretty nice. Let me just do that again. So again, click on where you want the checkbox to be. Go to insert, go down to checkbox, and it will drop it in there. Now you'd say, well, hey, Brad, you've got all these students. Do I have to do that exact same procedure over and over and over again? No, you don't. You can actually click on the checkbox here. And let's say I want this checkbox for student for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Okay, well, we've got this autofill feature, so I can go down to the little blue box in the corner, click it, hold it, drag it across, and it autofills whatever's in that cell and says, oh, you want to fill all those other things with the same thing. Sure, we can do that. So that's nice, though. Now I've got student 1 totally done. I've got a checkbox for each thing, and I can just go through and say they did it on this day, they didn't on that day, whatever. So that's nice. And then I got all these other students. Well, you can still do autofill for all these other students as well. So I'm clicking on B2 for Monday, student 1. I'm going to drag across with my mouse. I've got all of those selected, Monday through Friday's checkboxes. In the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see that blue box again, and that says, oh, you want to autofill stuff if you're clicking this box. So there's the plus sign in the bottom right, and I'm going to click it, and I'm going to drag it all the way down to whatever I want to fill. I went a little bit too far. I'm going back up. There we go. So now all of my students have a checkbox, and I only did a few clicks. I didn't have to do each checkbox over and over and over again. So again, that autofill feature is select what you want to copy or reproduce, and the spreadsheet has enough capacity in the software to figure out what you want to do. So you grab that little square, the autofill in the corner, and drag it and fill up as much as you want. So this is looking really, really good. We've got this kind of minimized, or only the columns we want. We've resized the columns and rows to kind of make it a little bit more pleasant to look at. And we've got some check boxes that we can fill or leave unchecked if need be. Now, One problem that I have with the spreadsheet that we just made is it's so big right now, and I do try to have it big so you can see it on the screen. It's bigger than I normally would have it. I am getting old, but I'm not quite that old yet. Is when I go to the bottom, I can't see what the headers are. So there's a nice feature that will freeze the cells that you want to freeze, so they'll always stay on the screen. So right up here, you'll see right above the 1, there's a black bar or gray bar, and when I hover over it with my mouse, it turns to a Mickey Mouse hand. And when you get to that Mickey Mouse hand, you can click it and drag it, and this is the freeze pane. And basically it says anything above that bar will always stay on the screen. So I've just made Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday frozen. So they always stay, and I can always, no matter if I go to the very bottom of the list, they're always going to stay at the top of my list. So that freezes it that way. And if you don't want it there, or you want to move it around, you just go over, hover over it. It'll turn to the Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse hands, and you can slide it back to where it was and say, I don't want anything frozen on this. So again, hover over it, drag it to as many cells as you want to stay on the screen at the whole time. You can also do the exact same thing for the columns. So over here, I'm going to drag, you'll see the Mickey Mouse hand beside the A box on the left. And let's say I always want to see the students' names. No matter how far to the right I go, I always want to see the students' names and my headers. So now with those frozen there, it makes it a lot more usable. It doesn't matter how big my list is, I can still see what the headers are on there. Okay, so, and again, if I want to put it back, you just grab them and put them back. Say, I don't want any of those anymore. Okay, Chase, I'm just going to open it up for a second. Is there anything that's coming up in the chat that I could address?
Yes, Heather had a question in regards to, can you put words with the check boxes in the same cell?
I do not believe that you can. I think when a checkbox is in there, it's the only thing that can go in that box, but that's a good question. And I don't have a better answer. Well, I have a good answer. It is a true answer, but it's not the one that we'd like. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. All right. That was our only question so far.
Okay, good. Now, the other thing is you don't have to have a white, background spreadsheet. I'm going to click the all button, select all button in the top. You can use Command A like you do in other things, or Control A on a PC or Chromebook. I'm going to select everything. In the top, in the menu bar, there's a bucket, the little fill color, and you can change the background color, and you might as well make it look interesting to you or whatever. So you can change the colors. You can change the colors of the different rows and all that. But, it doesn't have to always be white background. You can kind of liven it up a little bit. Another thing that's really nice is that sometimes, especially if you have a really wide spreadsheet where there's lots of columns and it goes off the screen, it's hard to keep track which one you're on. So they have a built-in feature in Sheets where I'm going to select everything on the screen again. And this is called alternating colors. So I'm selected everything on the screen. I'm going to Format, and I'm going down to alternating colors. And the nice thing, it does this totally for you. It gives you a light and a dark row, and it makes your header a color as well, solid color. And they give you some already pre-made colors, so you can kind of just click through if you wanted to change it to the ones they have, which is really nice, quick and easy. I like that even colors lights and dark the check boxes as well, which is kind of fun. You can also come down here and customize your own colors as well, and make the light and dark whatever you want it to be. But it's nice that they already have some done. And if you don't want the header to be a different color for some reason, they have that option as well. You can turn the header color off and on. But this is a really quick way to make it a little bit more. You might not pick this color scheme I have here, but it's a way. It's nice that you can differentiate and visually help you work through a spreadsheet. They got those nice features on there as well. So, all right. So we've got a spreadsheet. We've changed the columns. Height. the height of the rows and the column width. We've done some playing around with the colors and check boxes. Now, another thing that you
Hey,
may
Brad.
not, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Eric was asking if you can show again how to delete the extra columns.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Get
that's
to
a good
my,
one. Okay, so
right.
let's, I'm just going to open a new one. That's a good one. Okay, so here's your spreadsheet, and you got tons and tons of columns. So let's say I only want columns A through G. So I just want these columns, A through G. So A through G, I picked F, but okay, now A through G. I'm going to get rid of H all the way, everything to the right. So if you click on the letter of the column and hold it down, and drag with your, I'm dragging with my mouse. I just clicked on H and I'm just continuing to click on it and drag to the right. And then all those columns to the right are selected. And I'm going to, moving my mouse to the header up there on, doesn't matter which column you use, just I put it up there and I right click and it gives me a delete column option. I believe also, let me just see, I believe you can go, once you've highlighted everything, I believe you can go to edit and also has delete columns over here. So there's oftentimes 2 or 3 different ways of doing the exact same thing, but I've selected my columns by clicking on the column letter, holding it down. Sorry, you have to click and hold down, don't let up, and slide whichever way you want to select those columns. I usually right click and then select delete columns. Those are the ones I selected. Good question. Another interesting thing to do with the columns, just because we're thinking about it a little bit, is let's say that I have a column that has a bunch of information in it, like column C in this example, Tuesday. But you know what? I want to get rid of all the content of column C. Like I messed up that. I don't want to have to go through and delete each thing. I just want to get rid of what's in there. I don't want to delete the column. If I select column C or any of the columns up here and hit the delete button on my keyboard, it keeps the column there. All the formatting has stayed the same. It just deletes all the content from the column. So I'll do that again. Let's pick Friday. We love Friday. Well, let's keep Friday. Let's get rid of Monday. So I'm going to click on B, column B. That whole column is selected because I clicked the letter at the top. And just on the keyboard, I'm hitting the delete key, and it deletes all the content from there, and then I could redo it or so forth. You could actually delete the whole column. Like if I right click, I could delete the column, but if you want to keep the information in the formatting, let's say on this whole thing, I just want to, I kind of messed up on this, so I'm just going to select B through F. I like all my color scheme, but I messed up on something. I've got all of those selected, and I hit delete, and it keeps them all there, but then I could put new content in it. So again, select, and I'm just using the delete key on the keyboard. You can also clear, there's also a place to clear delete values. It's right here under edit, which is doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm not deleting the columns or that I've selected. I'm deleting the values that are inside of them. So if you want to like reuse something, you just want to get the guts of it gone, that's one way to get at that. And I realize there's not a lot coming at you, so feel free to give me those questions here, and we're going to keep. Oh, okay. One of the things I want to show you. Here's a cool thing that you may not know. If you use Google Classroom, which most people are, I'm going to show you something that you might not know. So in Google, here's what I have of support staff. So here's a Google Classroom that I have. And if you go to your classwork and you click on one of your assignments for students, doesn't matter what one you pick, just click on one of the assignments. And let's see, let's click here. Maybe. No, I got to pick assignments. Oh, okay. Maybe this is it. No. If I can get to the assignments page, why am I having issues with that? Assignments. Okay. So I'm actually in the assignment page where you could actually see who's turned in that assignment. Sorry it took me so long to get there. So it doesn't matter which one you pick in your Google Classroom, as long as you're on this assignment page, it shows the students and what they got for an assignment. If you go up to the gear box in the top right-hand corner, it gives you the option to copy all the grades to a Google Sheet. So if you're putting grades in Google Classroom and want to take that information from your Google Classroom and put it in a Google Sheet so you can play around with the data, make charts out of it and those kind of things, this is all there available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and click the button. And it pops open and takes all your data, which there is none in this class, but it takes all your data and makes a spreadsheet out of it. It puts all the students' names that are in your class, their emails, all the assignments will be at the top, and it will give the class averages for the class for each assignment underneath there. If it's missing, it'll say missing on it, but then you can kind of play around with the spreadsheet function on that. And so that's could be a really nice feature if you're looking at data and want to use that from Google Classroom. And again, how you do that is you go to an assignment. It doesn't matter which assignment you go to, but you need to be on this page where it shows the students' names and the grades for the assignment. You guys probably know better than me how to get to here. Once you're on this page, the gear at this page will let you download all the grades from your Google Classroom, and we'll put it in a Google Sheet that you can kind of play with the data a little bit. So that's could be really interesting. Here's more what it would look like. Again, it will give you first name, last name, email address. These are made up fictitious names here. It gives you their percentage, their grades on here, and then it gives you all the classwork for that and what grade the students got in there. And then you could reformat this to do whatever you want to with it. So that's kind of a nice thing. It's kind of a hidden feature that a lot of people may not know about. And again, you just get that from the assignment page and hit that little gear on there. Okay, so one more feature. Even if you were at my other workshops, we didn't talk about this one. So this will be a new one, even for those who have gone to one of these before. Okay, let's get my stuff back. Okay, here's an interesting one, I think. So I'm going to minimize this just a little bit so that I can see more of the page. Okay, so let's say I have some interesting data in this spreadsheet. So I have this great spreadsheet and I want to copy all this interesting data. There's not really any interesting data right here, but let's say I've just copied that section of this data and I want to use it in another document. You can actually highlight what you want to take from your Google Sheet. And I'm just using the copy feature, which is, I'm just using Command C, but you can right click and go to copy if you want to. Okay, so copy the data that you want. Then what's really cool is you can open up a Google Doc or a Google slideshow and you can paste it into a Google Doc or Google slideshow. Maybe I didn't copy it. Maybe my computer's slow. Let's see. Let's try again. Don't make me look bad. Okay, paste. I don't know. Okay, so I don't know why it was lagging there. So this thing will come up and say, do you want to link to the spreadsheet or do you just want it unlinked? If you link it to your spreadsheet, if you change the information in your spreadsheet, the document that has that information will also change as well. So let's do that. That's more interesting. So let's paste it. And then here's my information from there. Now, one of the things with check marks, if it's really a true or false statement. So if the check mark is checked, it's true. And if it's not checked, it's false. So it's, maybe not as neat that way over here. But the cool thing is that if you go back to your spreadsheet, and here's the one, let's say, you know what, they were here on Monday, they weren't here on Wednesday, we're just going to check a few. And the information, and this could be numbers, it could be test scores, whatever data you want to put in another document. If you come back to that document where you pasted it at the top, and it will just show up for you. It won't show up for everybody else. but just the owner of the document. There'll be a link here in a second. It might drag a little bit because there's lots of things going on my computer, but it will say update at the top here. And you can just say update information, and it will update any changes that were made from, it'll go look at the spreadsheet and say, oh yeah, that's updated information. I'm going to change that information here. It's dragging a little bit right now, but maybe by the time we're done today, you'll actually be able to see it. Usually it's a little bit quicker than that, but it's kind of nice. Then you share this document with somebody else, and then the information could be updated and use it in different formats. But it's kind of nice that you can actually link your data in a spreadsheet with other documents. You can do it in Google Slides and Google Docs as well. So again, you just copy that data from the spreadsheet and paste it into whatever other document that you want. And someday today, this will update, maybe. I don't know why it's being so slow, but anyway, we'll come back and see if that's updated there. Okay, so let's let me just check where I want it to be here. A couple other things. Yes. Oh, okay. Here's another interesting one. Google Sheets has really updated its ability to insert pictures and images. So I'm just going to a new spreadsheet to play around with it a little bit. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. And in these boxes, we can, instead of putting like numbers and data and that kind of stuff, or letters, which is great, you can also put a picture. So I'm going to pick this one right here, C2, and I'm going to go to Insert, Image, and you have an option. Do you want the image to go inside that particular cell and stay in that cell, or do you want it to hover over the top that you can move wherever you want to on the screen? I'm going to put it in a cell at first. And then I'm going to do a Google search. You can upload an image from your computer, get one from Google Drive. I'm going to put in a chicken, obviously. No, that's not obvious. And I'm going to put a piece of fried chicken, which is fine. I'm a vegetarian, but I'll put that in there anyway. Okay, so we got this picture in here, which is nice, and you can do the same thing with autofill with pictures as well. Like if you wanted lots of pictures of chicken, that's fine, and you can also drag all those down there as well. You can do all that with an image as well. So those are stuck inside of that particular cell, and I can't move it. I can copy and paste images to different cells, but I can't make it hover in between. The other way is to go to Insert, Images, and you could hover them over the cell. So this time I'm going to look for fish. Let's be hungry. I don't know. Okay, so we're going to put this image of this fish. Oh, image is too large. Okay, let's try again. Let's go to Image, over the cell, and Image Search. And oh, I got to type in something. It's waiting for me. Okay. Let's try maybe this one isn't as too big. Let's see. Oh, okay, great. And then this one is nice because you can move it wherever you want to on the screen. And I've used this for different things where I hide different things on my spreadsheet, and then I can, reveal them later. One of the things when you're moving images around like this, it always confuses me. I think if I click it and drag it, and it's not moving for me, you have to click it and it'll be highlighted. Then you click it again to drag it around and you can resize it. So there's lots of kind of cool things that you can do with spreadsheets that you couldn't do before. And this image feature is a really nice thing. I'm going to show you a couple things here. We're not going to go into great detail, but you could do a whole like drag and drop activity within a Google Sheet with these images, and you can have them drag and drop them and have the students put in numbers and play around with it. You can put in drawings as well in there, and it's under the same insert. You can do drawings, all these things, these images I made here in the Google Drawings feature, right, built into Sheets. So there's lots of fun, interesting things that you can do with images. I did a number line activity, which I showed to people before, where I did a little bit of putting in some formulas to generate some different equations. I hid the answer underneath this little ostrich thing so the kids could try to do some practice on their own, drag stuff around the screen. So there's lots of cool things that with this image feature that you can do with Google Sheets. And it doesn't have to be intimidating. It doesn't have to be intimidating. You can make a smaller spreadsheet with just a few things in it, which is kind of cool. Okay, I know. Okay, so we got a little bit of time here. I'm going to go over a couple things. Is how to format data. Like a lot of times people get data like from somewhere and like the spacing's wrong and the letters are wrong. They put the first name and last name in the same box, and I want to sort and I can't sort by the last name because they put, Brad Cogdell, and how do I sort by that? So I'm going to show you a little bit of how to fix up data that people give you and make it look it's a little bit more manageable. One tool is the split text tool. So if in this column, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and just so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, so if you can see in column A, and it's kind of hard to see on the screen, I'll try to zoom in a little bit more. Okay. They've got names. There's too much space between the first part of the name and the last part of the name. There's too much space in between. This one's really too big. I can't even see what's in those columns. So a couple things I would do if I had this data that somebody gave to me, I would click the all button, and I would double click the columns just somewhere in between, and it will auto adjust all the columns to fit the width of the data. So again, I just clicked the all button, just like we did before. I went in between any two of the columns, doesn't matter which one, double click on it, and it will auto adjust every column to fit the width of the largest piece of data in the column, which is great. Now I can kind of see what's going on, but that's kind of cut off because the columns the rows aren't big enough. So I'm going to click on the rows, and I'm going to click on everything, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to double click with my mouse, and it will auto adjust the height of every cell in there, so I can kind of see okay. Now I can at least see the trouble that's in there. Okay, now here's a little bit of a formula you can do with data. I think the most important one here is I want to split the first name and the last name. But before I do that, I notice there's too much space before or after names. There's a little trick you can do. This is a little bit of a formula. It is a formula. It's not a little bit. It is a formula. I'm going to hit the enter button or the equals button in this column next to it. Sorry. And I'm going to type in proper. No, I'm going to type in trim. And again, don't try to memorize all these. Just know that it's there and you can find it if you need to. Trim will take text that has extra spaces in it and will take out all the extra spaces that you don't need. It won't take out the one space between words, but it will trim all the extra stuff before or after text in there. So, okay, I've clicked on that. And this menu bar is giving me great information about it, but now it's in my way. So I'm going to hit the little up arrow to minimize. Okay, now I can see, and it's saying I need to pick which square do I want to trim, what cell. I want to do this one. So it says trim A3. And it gives you up above, it shows you what it's going to be like when you do it. It's going to do Warren space. It looks like it's going to be good. So I'm going to hit enter. Maybe. There it is. So Warren Nelson doesn't have any extra spaces before or after his name. And I want to do the same thing for everything in this big, long list. So I'm going to back out just a little bit. So I'm going to use, you might guess, the autofill. And I'm going to take this formula that trimmed up all that information on Warren Nelson, all the blank spaces. And I'm going to drag this formula all the way to the bottom. And now it's going to go through and trim up all that data, take off all the extra spaces in between. So all I have is the first name, a space, and the last name. That's great. Now I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to insert a column. Now, here's what I'm going to do. I need 2 columns to the right to make this happen. Now, the people who put this data in put their first name and last name in the same box, so it's hard for me to sort it by last name. But Google Sheets has come to the rescue for us. So I'm going to highlight all the names that have their first and last name in the box there. And they added a tool. And so I've selected all the names that I want to split. And I'm going to go to, I think it's data. And I'm going to roll to the bottom. And there's something called split text to columns. And I'm going to click that. And then it says detect automatically. I want to split between a space. So you can, if there's a comma between them, you can select the comma or semicolon, whatever is dividing the words, how you want to split it. I want to use the space. So I'm hitting space. And you'll notice now the columns have Warren in column B, the first name, and Nelson in the second column. So it's split those in between 2 separate columns. So all the names that were in one column have now been split into 2. So that's really, really nice. And that is, again, I'm going to go back just to show it one more time. Select the data that you want to split, and usually it's first name, last name that somebody puts all in the same box. And then you go to insert. Nope, sorry. You go to data or data if you choose, and then go down to split text to columns. And it will split them and put the first word in the one column. Oh, I have to pick which I want to space in between. That's the one I always split by. And there you go. So especially you're dealing with lots of names all the time and lists and stuff. So that's sometimes a helpful feature to have. Chase, is there any other questions? I'm going to do a few more things, but is there anything that people are like, would like me to do again or do better or?
Nope, there's not been any questions asked. So.
Okay. Let me just go one. Okay. So 2 things I have to cover these things because I think they're so important when you're working with spreadsheet and all this data that you're going to have student data is how to color code. This is called data no, not data validation. Sorry, my brain's not working. Conditional formatting. So I wanted to change a color depending on what values are in here. So let's say that here's some data that I have, and here's all my students. I would put my students' names in here. There's all my students. Great. They're all there. And then here's all their scores that they got here on this test or these different tests that I have. And again, there's writing prompt number 1, and I'm just going to drag these. I did this in September, October, November. You can drag this stuff. You don't have to type all those things. It knows what you want to do. If you put 5, 10, 15 in 3 consecutive boxes, it'll say, oh, you're counting by 5. I know what the pattern is. So you don't have to do those kind of things. It will do it for you. So here's all my writing prompts, but I want to select all my data that my kids have done on these tests. And these look like all these are like 0 through 10. And I'll just select this part. I want anything that's less than a 6 to turn red. So I just highlighted all the data in here. So everything's highlighted. I'm going to format. I'm going to conditional formatting. And this is where you put in the rules. Okay, tell it what you want, what color you want it to do, and when do you want it to turn that color. So it already has the range. I already selected that. That's what it is there. Now you can click this. It says format cells if, and I'm going to say if it is, you scroll down, is less than or equal to is one of the options. Less than or equal to, and then put whatever the value is in the next cell underneath there. So I'm going to say if it's less than or equal to 7, I'm going to turn it, and you pick what color you want it to turn. It automatically goes green, but I'm going to pick a reddish color. So any data now that's here, that's 7 or less is going to turn red. So I can kind of see where my trouble areas are there. Um, it's still highlighted. I could have done another formula, which I should have done when I was there, but conditional formatting. I'm also going to add another rule to the same data. And this one is if they are greater than 7, I want to turn green. So now I'm going to get rid of that. Now all my data is Christmas colored and color coded. So anytime it's anything 7 or less, I can see it's red, or you can change the coloring system on there or whatever you want. And it's live, so that if I go up here and like this is a score of, I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I know it's hard to see. I'm going to change this 7 to a 9. And it changes color automatically. Once you have it set for that range of data, it will just keep on, if the 9 actually wasn't a 9, it was actually a 5, all that data is live and will change colors depending on how the scores go up and down and so forth. So that's called conditional formatting. And I think that's a real important one to know, because so much of the time we're looking at data and we want to just quickly visually see what are the trouble issues and where do I need to spend my time and energy on there. And okay, this other one is there's tons of other stuff that's really great. There's a lot of videos in there. Here's another cool one. This one is, let's say you are sharing this data with someone else, or even better, let's say that you've done a Google form survey or something, and it always dumps your information into a spreadsheet. So if you're working with somebody else, or you want to know if somebody has entered information into a spreadsheet, on any spreadsheet, you can go up to Tools, Notifications, and this is great. So that if I'm sharing the spreadsheet with somebody and they're entering information, I want to know when they enter stuff in so I can see what they're doing. Or on the spreadsheet that you get for a Google form where they're entering form data for a quiz or something, you can say, notify me at my email of any changes made to this document. And then you can choose, do you want it like at the end of each day, or right away, whenever anything's changed in this document, I want an email sent to my email about it. So you can do it a daily, and it'll give you like everybody who made changes throughout the day, or right away. And then you save it, and then anybody else that you shared this information with in the spreadsheet, if they're changing stuff and you want to know, you want to keep an eye on them, make sure they're doing it right or something, it'll send you an email. And like I said, it works with Google Forms, because you can dump that information from a Google form into a spreadsheet. And then you can also put that notification on there to say, hey, let me know if anything changes on the spreadsheet, and it will email you that information. So that's a great feature as well, that notification. You go to Tools, Notification Rules, and then put in whatever you want to be notified or how, and you can delete those as well. All right, so we're getting close to the end here. I know there's lots of stuff, and I hope I didn't go too fast. I try to give you some different things. I didn't spend a lot of time on doing formulas because it can slug things down and people can like glaze over. So I try to make it, some interesting things that you can use on any spreadsheet, whatever you're doing with it. So if you have any questions, it's great. Yep. This spreadsheet should be available to you. And also the video and some other links are on the Canvas course.
All right, just a couple of quick questions, Brad, if you don't mind.
Yep. No, absolutely.
All right. So Erica has a question: is there a way to copy a class list from PowerSchool or Google Classroom into a spreadsheet or Google Sheet?
Yes. If you go to, and it's a little bit trickier for me to answer the question really clearly because I have admin access, so I have access to all the students, but I don't have teacher access, so it's hard for me to know exactly. But you should have access to make a list, like class lists, and you can, when those are generated on the screen, you can actually just highlight and copy the text from that and put it in there. It might even have an export feature to a spreadsheet, or sometimes they a CSV comma separated value, which is what spreadsheets open up in. So I don't know about the export feature in PowerSchool, but I know that you can generate a class list that you can look at, and you could literally just copy the list, like highlight those, and it should select and copy, and you could drop those in a spreadsheet. I know that part is good, and maybe another teacher out there would know.
All right.
Better.
And we have one other question. And do you know if the Google Sheets scores can be exported into PowerSchool?
I've heard people say that could happen, and some people have done that. And there might be some people on the some DIS or other people who know more about that. And if you're on there, please just drop that in the chat. I've heard people say that they could do that, but I don't really know the details of that. That's a good question. I know, yeah, like when I used Canvas at my other school, they had it turned on that you could actually grade stuff in that LMS, and you just push a button and it pushes all your grade. You graded everything in that, and you just did it once. You just push the button and it threw it over into PowerSchool, which would really be nice. That would be nice to have for classrooms as well. But there's not an official way that I know of that's like, but there are some people who have done something like that. I just don't know the details of it.
All right. So I think that was all the questions we had. So a lot of thank yous in the comments, Brad. So we do appreciate you giving up your time and teaching us about Google Sheets.
Sure, absolutely. And then reach out to me if you have a specific question about formulas or something you're trying to do. I'm glad to answer any of that kind of stuff as well. There's lots of things. If there's something you're thinking about, you wonder if Sheets can do it, it probably can. So, don't hesitate to, look it up on YouTube or whatever. That's what I do. I just type in what I want to do, and usually I find lots of videos on there. But feel free to email me as well, and I'll be glad to help you with anything I can.
All right. So this will wrap up our Google Sheets. So thank you all for attending, and special thanks to Brad again. So hope you have a good afternoon. We'll see you later.
All right.